Geeks, nerds, gamers, and trolls. This is your MMOBomb.com first look at Tango 5 Reloaded Grid Action Heroes. And yes, that is a mouthful. This is an upcoming free-to-play real-time tactics game developed by Studio One, published by Nexon Korea Corporation, available as of the time of this recording on Steam. There was an open beta from July 18th to July 25th. So probably by the time you're actually watching this, it's not on open beta currently, but it should be coming back very soon for another round of beta testing. This game is not what I expected to be, so we're going to get in, jump in, take a look at what the game looks like, sounds like, plays like. Help you decide if it's a game you might want to download and try next time it comes around. So when the old magic man tossed me this game for a first look, he's like, "Hey, Troy, you like Atlas Reactor, don't you?" And I'm like, yes, very much so. It's one of my favorite games, actually. I thoroughly enjoy Atlas Reactor, turn-based MOBA. It's really unique in the genre. He's like, here's something that should be similar. So I took one look at it, screenshots and stuff on Steam. Sent it to me a few days before it was actually available for open beta. I was like, oh, isometric, grid-based, man, this is going to be an awesome little turn-based strategy game. Well, it turns out it's not turn-based. It's real-time tactical combat. So you got to pay attention to what you're doing a whole lot more than you do necessarily on a turn-based game. You don't really have a lot of time in between your actions. Now, it is a real-time tactics game, so once you've committed to an action, you are going to complete that action. There's no canceling or anything like that. So if you're going to stand in one spot and do a big, powerful AoE attack, as you're probably going to see me do a few times on the biker here, you're stuck in that spot. So other players, if they're standing right on top of you, taking that damage, other players outside of that area can definitely take advantage and throw a lot of heavy damage on you as well. So you got to pay a lot of attention to what you're doing, what everybody else is doing, where they're at, and what abilities they could have available to take advantage of you if you put yourself in a vulnerable situation. Now, there's 3 different game modes currently in the game. We're going to take a look at all 3 before this video is over with. Each one has a few different maps that you can play on. This is called Conquest, Capture the Point. At the end of the round, the team that has the majority of points captured wins, or if at any point a team captures all 3 points simultaneously, they automatically win the round. Best of 3 wins, so win 2 rounds, and you win the game. And yes, unfortunately, as much as it does pain me to say this, and probably catch a little flack for it, but that's okay, it is what it is, I had to do what I had to do. These are bots. I think one or two of these games, there is like an actual person or two in there. But for the most part, we're playing against bots. It was a limited time beta on a game that, as far as I'm aware, didn't really have any marketing going into this initial open beta. So not a lot of players. Ran into some situations because there is no matchmaking. It's lobby based. So you jump into a lobby, and if you're on the opposite team from like a group of friends, they'll load your team up with bots before you realize what happened. And they'll just hit the start button on you, and then you jump in. You got a team full of bots against a full squad, and then they just raffle stomp you. So there's a little bit of trolling going on at the moment. Folks who've played this game for a while can take advantage of some situations on you. But, as long as you got a group of friends, or you just want to play some bots just to check the game out, or you just don't care that you get trolled like that, you just want to play the game, jump in and check it out. So yeah, I've played a few games against actual people here and there. I've had 1 or 2 balanced games, but mostly raffle stomps one way or the other. Not a lot of balance, of course, when you're just jumping in and out of lobbies with no real matchmaking going on. But it looks like the game's kind of built around the lobby system, so that's probably going to be what it is going forward. Based on the way the game's built right now, I'd be surprised to see matchmaking come into it later on. So stuck with lobbies, so you just know what that is going in. Just something you got to deal with. Overall, the game's been fun. There are a few weird things about it that we're going to get into, and we're going to start with the controls. Now, as much as I'm not a fan of the lobby system instead of over matchmaking, I'm really not a fan of the controls in this game. For basic movement, the mouse, as you can see me moving around on the squares and stuff, that part works as you would expect it to. Now, personal opinion, in games like this, I expect to be able to move the screen around with WAS and D. Unfortunately, all your abilities are keybound to your row of keys there, just like a traditional MOBA would be. Now you say, well, that doesn't sound so bad. You can get used to that, which you can. But you have to drag the mouse holding down the same button you use to move, which is a little weird. And sometimes when you're trying to aim your basic attacks and moving the mouse around, it makes the screen move for no reason whatsoever. The part where it gets really wonky is that whenever you use an ability that's on like Q or E or anything like that, you have to hold that ability down and click. It's not push the button and then click where you want it, and there's no quick casting option whatsoever in the game. You literally have to push whatever button you're going to use down and then click on it while you're holding the button down. I'm just not a fan of that at all. I understand if some people have played games maybe like that before where it's not that big a deal to you. Good for you. I'm not used to that in a MOBA of any type. Even in something like Atlas Reactor, you can tap the ability or you can quick cast it and just kind of move your mouse around without having to hold that key down. So that's pretty annoying, especially in a game where your mouse is doing so much. It's just not a good system at all. So the movement and the controls are pretty clunky. Gameplay overall, though, has been pretty fun. There's a lot of uniqueness in the characters and the abilities they have. You know, there's nothing super flashy as far as abilities. There's nothing super flashy as far as character design. But overall, each one has been fairly unique out of the ones that are unlocked right now. And it looks like there's about half of what's in the game that's currently unlocked and available to play. So I'm not sure, you know, going forward, how much freshness is coming in some of the new heroes coming out in the future, but as of right now, they're all fairly unique and each have a skill set that does something a little different and a little different play style that has its own strengths and weaknesses depending on which game mode you're playing. The lobby system you can get over if you like a game enough. The controls, you know, get used to them, and eventually it doesn't become as big of a problem as it is initially going in. Just expectations of what I expected going in were different than what I got. So as with anything else, you know, some time with the controls and maybe I can get used to it and get over it. But really, those are my only two complaints. For me, lobby is a fairly big complaint. The controls being a little wonky for me is my biggest complaint by far. But like I said, you get used to that over time. Everything else has been good, man. The fact that it's on Steam, I was sort of expecting to download the Nexon launcher and then have to remember my Nexon login account and all that mess. No, you just download it through Steam, you launch it, it launches directly into the game. All you gotta do is type in whatever you want your username to be, and then boom, you're good to go. I was really happy to see there not be a freaking another third-party launcher coming off of Steam for a game like this. I mean, there's enough barrier as it is with how small of a game this is probably gonna be launching. So, you know, that having that little launcher to deal with some of these games is just one step too far for some of us, like me personally, that I just don't want to monkey with. The game has run absolutely fine. It's got an art style that's easy on the eyes. It's easy to tell what's going on around you. Camera movement's a little weird at times, like I said, due to the way some of the controls and the abilities work. But other than that, it's been pretty easy to tell what's going on, you know, which point I'm trying to capture, which points the enemies are on, kind of what's going on with my allies out in the battle. So they've done a good job with keeping the UI small and out of the way, but it gives you a lot of information that you really need. So great job with that. The games are very fast-paced. Most of them don't last more than 5 minutes. Most of them are 5 minutes or less, so you're in and out of matches pretty quick. The biggest problem you're going to have is, like I said, if you want to try to find a room, especially, you know, I play a little later at night whenever I play, but if you're playing in improv time, maybe it's not as bad. I actually had a couple of times where I was playing with folks, actual people in the game, and they would jump in and chat and say something along the lines, I'm surprised how popular this game is, because there are several rooms, but once you get a room that's competitive, they just kind of stay full, and there's lots of rooms listed, but you can't get into any of them, so you kind of have to, for the most part, I've been having to start my own room, trying to see if people would jump in, and then eventually just start adding bots, just because I need to get some footage and get some game time in so we can show off a little bit of it. But yeah, overall, not what I expected. Like I said, when I just saw a couple of screenshots on it, I thought, oh, Atlas Reactor. But that's not what it is at all, and it's a pleasant surprise. Like, it worked out in a good way because I'm not sure, you know, for me personally, if I had to choose between Atlas Reactor and another game like it, I would still just choose Atlas Reactor. I know not everybody probably plays Atlas Reactor or maybe even heard of Atlas Reactor. If you enjoy turn-based games and MOBAs, you should check out Atlas Reactor. But this game was a pleasant surprise. I found myself enjoying my time in the game. So, you know, there's always something good to be said about that. So let's take a quick look at a couple of the other game modes. This is Last Man Standing. This is essentially Battle Royale, basically. And this is about half as many people as can be in a game at a time for this. It holds up to 16. I just had to roll with 8. I can't remember if there are actual people in this one or not. I know it's not all actual people if there are people in here. But this is just kind of roaming around and surviving, trying to be the last one to live. So, you know, kind of hiding is an option. Knowing full well what your abilities are and what your enemy's abilities are is going to go a long way in this one especially. This is my first time playing the Grenadier, so I really had no idea what I was doing. I was trying to figure out the abilities as I was throwing them. As you can see here, I was just trying my best to throw a grenade at him, and I was like, why can't I throw this grenade? And because it's got a minimum range it has to go. So, you know, stuff like that. I was just trying to figure out along the way. But this is kind of what Last Man Standing looks like. This is, I mean, there's 7 people running around in here at this point. So here you can see we're finally starting to get some. I think I get wrecked here pretty quick. This clip isn't very long at all. Then we'll jump into the one that I got wrecked in even faster, which was the co-op mode. So here's the co-op mode. Teams of up to 4 players defend against waves of enemies that come in on a timer. You have to survive so many rounds to win. We do not win here. Just a spoiler alert. This is my first time ever playing this game mode. I wasn't really sure what to expect, how many would be coming out, where they'd be coming from, where I needed to set up, anything like that. So as you can see, I was way out of position when they first came out. So we ended up getting just wrecked here. But the good news is you'll see me try something here in a few minutes once a lot of my teams start going down. If you stay out of combat for so long, your health automatically starts regenerating. So you'll see me try to do the runaway tactic, try to regen some health. But at that point, it's well beyond a lost cause for me to do anything here because I didn't make good plays in the beginning as far as awareness of what was going on around me. So, but yeah, this is the co-op mode. So there's a co-op mode for all you would-be Care Bears out there. Says the guy who had to play bots. I know. I had to play bots in order to get footage, but I need to get the footage. So I can't sit around for just days waiting for matches and trying to get good matches. So it is what it is. I'm going to call it a Care Bear mode and then show you footage of bots. Accept it for what it is. But yeah, as of right now, 3 different game modes, a few different maps apiece for each game mode. That's the extent of the game at the moment. A handful of heroes available. I don't have an exact count on that. We'll actually we're going to scroll through them here right about now as the menu transitions in, just to take a look outside. It's casual mode only right now. There's no ranked play. There's no solo ranking. There's no anything else. There's no cash shop at all. And this is the part that always gets me in trouble with these first looks, right? We look at the cash shop and it's either non-existent or really benign when we look at it. And then a week after the first look comes out, it gets full of just some bull crap. Just some absolute bull crap. So just keep that in mind. There is no cash shop whatsoever when I was looking at this game. So I have no idea what that's going to look like eventually. So just scrolling through some of the heroes and stuff and some final thoughts here. A fun game, really bare bones at the moment. Some interesting characters, classes, some gameplay that's pretty fun. Controls are going to take a lot of getting used to. Going to take some rekey binding to put some things where I really want them. And the lobby matchmaking, man, I'm not a fan of that, but you know, if a game's fun enough, you can get over a lot of stuff, right? Now, with all that being said, for all intents and purposes, best I can tell, this game has already flopped in Korea. It's already flopped on mobile. I'm not even sure if it's still available on mobile at this moment. I'd have to look and see. But I know at one point, at least, it was a mobile game. If it still is, then there you go. But this game hasn't done exceptionally well in other areas, so you know they're giving it a shot over here. It's the land of bringing your Korean games over and seeing if you can make some money on them. So, you know, we've brought it up on ourselves a little bit with throwing money at things like Bless. So hopefully in the long run, a game like this doesn't require a big upfront investment. It's going to be free to play is what they say. It's free to play right now. There's no founders packs or anything like that to get in and try out the game. So, I mean, hopefully it stays free. Hopefully there's no pay to win, and hopefully this game gets a fair shot. If it deserves it, if it doesn't deserve it, it can just go in the dumpster with all the other Korean trash out there. So right now, that's about all there is to show. Just some gameplay, just some initial thoughts on the game. It's just going to be something we're going to have to watch going forward because it is, like I said, limited open beta window right now. It was just the 18th to the 25th. I don't really know at this time when the next open beta is going to come open. Hopefully there'll be some more features along the way so that we can check out at that point. But for now, we're just going to call this first look done. Always check out MMOBomb.com for all your first look needs, all your new information on free-to-play games everywhere around the universe. I have been the Noob Fridge, Troy Blackburn. This first look is done. I am out.